Hi guys and welcome to Strength Universe. Following on from the video I made about the 1990s strongman Manfred Herbal and the results of the following poll I posted in the community section, I thought I'd make a video about the 4 times world's strongest man and one of the greatest of all time, Magnus Ver Magnusson. Magnus was born on the 23rd of April 1963 in the small Icelandic village of Alienstad, where he grew up on his grandparents' farm before moving to Seyðisfjörður. He always knew he was strong but occasionally get up to mischief, but he wouldn't start lifting weights until he was about 18 years old, when one of Iceland's best powerlifters moved to the town to become the chief of police, and it is he who would ask the local sports council to buy some lifting equipment for the sports hall. And it was at this time that Magnus would start lifting 2 to 3 times a week. In the following months, Magnus would move to a slightly larger town to study car mechanics. Shortly after this, he would move to Reykjavik on the pretense that he was attending school. But in reality, he was chasing a powerlifter and former chief of police from Seyðisfjörður, who was now the manager of a gym in Reykjavik. A few months later, he would leave school and start training at the gym full time, earning money while working as a bouncer at night. Magnus first started to compete in powerlifting in 1984 and strongman shortly after. From then until 1991 he competed 28 times, finishing on a podium on 26 occasions and winning 20, including the EPF European Powerlifting Championship twice. He achieved his best ever total of 1,015 kilograms or 2,238.8 pounds in 1991. Magnus's best ever competition lifts were an equipped squat of 400 kilograms or 882 pounds in a single ply suit. His heaviest ever squat was achieved at the 1995 World's Strongest Man final, where he recorded a lift of 437.5 kilograms or 964.5 pounds, as is seen here.
He's got a real knack of getting it right when it matters.
His best raw bench press is said to be 250 kilograms or 551 pounds. Although I could find no evidence of this, his best verified bench press of 225 kilograms or 496 pounds, which was achieved at 48 years old, certainly hints at the claim as being legitimate. Magnus's best equipped bench press in a single ply shirt is 275 kilograms or 606 pounds. And his best equipped deadlift was 370.5 kilograms or 817 pounds. Magnus previously held the tire deadlift world record after pulling 445 kilograms or 981 pounds. Magnus started his strongman career in 1985 when he competed at the inaugural Iceland Strongest Man, finishing in 3rd place behind winner John Paul Sigmarsson and runner-up Hjalti Arnarsson, a result that would be repeated again in 1986 and 1987. In 1988, Magnus competed at Iceland's Strongest Man for a 4th time, where he would compete against Hjalti Arnarsson and guest competitor Bill Kazmaier.
Og hér hann kominn aftur með 155 kíló. Og það fór léttilega. Hann sigraði þessum Magnús nær hér örlítið forskoti. Magnús 23 ára, Bill Kazmaier 33 ára. Og þarna misti Magnús aðeins niður hraðan og hér koma þeir báðir jafnir í mark.
Magnus Ver Magnusson went on to win the first of his 8 Iceland Strongest Man titles, but in reality he finished the competition in 2nd place behind winner Bill Kazmaier, and in these circumstances the title defaults to the highest placed Icelander. He experienced further success, finishing in the runner-up spot at the Leadify Mark 10 International behind countryman Hjalti Arnarsson. Ver Magnusson's rise to the top continued in 1989 when he won pure strength with Hjalti Arnarsson, the Leadify Mark 10 International and Iceland's Strongest Man for a 2nd time. He also finished runner-up at the World Strongman Challenge. At the 1990 Pure Strength competition, Magnus and Untitled Chapter finished runner-up to Bill Kazmaier and O.D. Wilson. He only competed at 2 other competitions, finishing 3rd at the World Strongman Challenge and the Leadify Mark 10 International. In 1991, Ver Magnusson became the EPF European Powerlifting Champion, and he was doing very well in strongman competitions, coming 3rd at the World Muscle Power Championship and winning the International Power Challenge. These performances led to Magnus being invited to the 91 World's Strongest Man as a reserve and event tester. But 5 weeks before the competition, he received a phone call late at night asking him to compete because John Paul Sigmarsson had torn his bicep. Magnus was not considered a threat to the other competitors, but he put in a dominant and more importantly consistent performance, finishing in the top 3 in 7 out of the 8 events, and leading to him comfortably winning the title of the World's Strongest Man.
And Magnus Ver Magnusson is the world's strongest man and a very worthy winner of the title this year.
Magnus returned to the World's Strongest Man in 1992 to defend his title, but ultimately ended up finishing in joint runner-up spot with Jamie Reeves, after losing out to Ted Vandenpar by a single point. Magnus has blamed his loss on carrying the Husafeld stone too high on his chest, which obstructed his vision and hindered his breathing. But I have a slightly different opinion, in that I believe the damage was done earlier in the competition. After 5 events, Magnus had built up a 5-point lead over Ted, but that lead was completely eradicated after Magnus had a poor performance in the axe hold, which resulted in Ted taking the lead in the competition by a point over Magnus going into the penultimate event. Magnus would end up finishing in runner-up position again the following year, 5 points behind the winner Gary Taylor and half a point ahead of 3rd place Riku Kiri. 1994 would be the start of a dominant run that would see Ver Magnusson win back-to-back World's Strongest Man titles for 3 consecutive years, starting by beating runner-up Manfred Herbel by 1 point in 94. 1995 was arguably the best year of Ver Magnusson's career, in which he won 5 competitions, including his 3rd World's Strongest Man title, 8.5 points clear of 2nd place Gerhard Baldenhorst. Ver Magnusson won his final title in 1996, a full 9 points ahead of Riku Kiri. Magnus competed in his last World's Strongest Man in 1997. His hope for qualification through to the finals got off to a bad start when he finished the first event in last place. He went on to have another poor showing in the second event, the incline press, where he finished in 4th place. Magnus came back strong, winning the Hercules hold and taking 2nd place in the wheel flip, but it wasn't enough to get ahead of Sven Karlsson, who won the group, nor runner-up Tolfi Olofsson. Magnus would experience better results at the other competitions he competed at throughout the year, winning European Hercules, World Strongman Challenge, the Viking Challenge, and finishing runner-up behind Riku Kiri at Europe's Strongest Man. He competed in strongman sporadically from 1998 until retiring in his mid-40s due to an increasing frequency of injuries. His best results during this time were finishing runner-up at the 1998 Europe's Strongest Man and taking his 7th and 8th Iceland Strongest Man titles in 2001 and 2004, as well as winning Iceland's Strongest Viking in the same year. Magnus kept having success in powerlifting competitions until his last one in 2016. Around 2008, Magnus bumped into Hatfor Bjornsson at a gym in Reykjavik. Recognising his potential, he asked her if he'd like to try his hand at strongman, and from then on Magnus started to coach Hatfor at his gym Jakobol, which officially opened to the public in early 2009. Over the next few years, Magnus became heavily involved in the sport as a presenter and head referee, working for organisations including Giants Live, World's Strongest Man, the Arnold Strongman Classic, and more recently, World's Ultimate Strongman. On the 6th of July 2019, Magnus Ver Magnusson competed against the 1980s legend Bill Kazmaier in a one-off event that was arranged by Giants Live, for whom both athletes worked. Magnus and Bill faced off in the Hercules hold, and although the weight had been reduced, Magnus still put in a stunning performance to take an easy victory over his considerably older adversary.
Someone stop him! Ah! Well, I don't know who came up with the idea to have us do this. He's over there hiding. But,
Over the past few years, Magnus had been suffering with knee pain that had been getting progressively worse. Just before the Giants live event, he received stem cell treatment which failed to resolve the problem. So, on the 7th of September 2020, Magnus underwent his first knee replacement surgery. Following the surgery, Magnus did rehab for several weeks, before being able to comfortably walk and return to training. Just a couple of weeks later, Magnus flew out to the US to referee the 2020 World's Strongest Man. The 5th of June would see Magnus introduce his own competition in the inaugural Magnus Ver Magnusson Strongest Man in Iceland. Only a couple of days later, Magnus flew out to Sacramento to referee the World's Strongest Man. Over the course of his career, Magnus has won 31 powerlifting competitions, 4 World's Strongest Man titles, and has to be considered very unlucky not to have captured a 5th. He's also won Iceland's Strongest Man on 8 occasions, plus a whole host of other victories and podium finishes that you can see here. That brings me towards the end of the video, but I'd like to hear your opinion, so please leave a comment below letting me know what you think of Magnus's strongman career. I've left links to his social media in the description below, so please check that out and give him a follow. And finally, if you enjoyed this video, please help support my channel by smashing like, sharing the video and subscribing. Thank you.